My name is Ellen Kokindo. I'm opening the Staff Hearing Officer meeting for June 11th, 2025. We're going to start off with preliminary matters. If there are any requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or addition of ex-agenda items. I do not have any today. We'll go to announcements and appeals. I do have one announcement today. This is an announcement of the Staff Hearing Officer decision on a coastal development permit to allow the proposed development at 1109 Las Olas Avenue, APN 045-062-007 in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the city's coastal zone. The project consists of a proposal to convert an existing 336 square foot single-story detached accessory building into an accessory dwelling unit on a 7,841 square foot lot. The subject parcel is developed with a 1,369 square foot single-story, single-unit residence with 2 uncovered parking spaces, which are proposed to be replaced with 2 uncovered tandem parking in the driveway. So the discretionary applications under the jurisdiction of the Staff Hearing Officer required for this project are the coastal development permit to allow the proposed development in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone, and then determine that the project is categorically exempt from further environmental review. Pursuant to CEQA Section 15303, new construction or conversion of small structures. I've read the staff report, and this project does have conditions of approval drafted with it, and I accept the report as well as all the conditions and approve the coastal development permit based on the findings that were included in the report. Moving on, then I just want to clarify that that is a final action and my decision may not be appealed. Moving on to public comment from members of the public who have anything to say on items not on today's agenda. I don't see anyone in the audience who wishes to speak. Is there anyone via Zoom who wishes to speak on items not on today's agenda?
Upon checking Zoom, I do not see any raised hands for this item. Thank you.
I'll close public comment and then open up item 1. This is, let's see. I guess I don't have. It's 2A, yes, it's 2A. So this is a 5,000 square foot site. It's currently developed. This is at 1715 Gillespie Street, a 5,000 square foot site. It's currently developed with a 1,157 net square foot single family residence with a 230 net square foot detached garage. The project consists of an interior remodel and a roof replacement due to fire damage. The project total of 1,387 square feet of development on a 5,000 square foot lot is 57% of the required floor to lot area ratio. A front setback modification is required to grant relief from the front setback standard to allow the structure to be increased in height from 17 feet to 17 feet and 6 inches in the required 20-foot front setback. The discretionary application required at this hearing under the purview of the Staff Hearing Officer is a front setback modification to allow an increase in height from 17 feet to 17 feet 6 inches with the required 20-foot setback. So let's see, we have Ms. Broadison here, Associate Planner, who is going to be doing the presentation. I do have the plans pulled up. Oh, okay, forgive me. Do you want me to, I can pull that up. That was my fault.
Good morning, Ms. Kokinda. Thank you for the introduction and the description of the project. As you said, it's a 5,000 square foot lot. On that lot is a small one-story single-family residence with a small garage. And the project consists of an interior model and a roof replacement due to fire damage. A front setback modification is required to grant relief from the front setback standard to allow the structure to be increased in height from 17 feet to 17 feet 6 inches in the 20-foot setback. So as this slide shows, you can see the project is on the west side of Santa Barbara, south of the freeway, and kind of go up Mission, and it's near, kind of between, it's Islay and Valerio Street on Gillespie Street. Here's a picture of the existing front of the house, and you can see how the roof peaks up real steep there. And in this zone, this R2 zone, the project site is located it's about 5 feet into the required 20 feet setback. So this zone has 15-foot setback for portions of structures 15 feet or lower, and it has a 20-foot setback for portions of more than 15 feet in height. And you can see here that although it's only a one-story, it does go up to above the 15-feet marker for the 20-foot setback. So the existing house is 22 feet 3 inches tall at the highest point of the hip roof, as you can see right here on this slide, and sloping down to 17 feet. So additionally, the structure does not comply with the required 20-foot setback as it sits now. So through the proposed roof repair, the project will slope down to 17 feet 6 inches, which again still exceeds 15 feet. So the applicant is requesting a front setback mod to do those improvements. And here I can show you the floor plan. You can see the floor plan is not increasing within the front setback. You can see that there is a bay window, which is an allowed encroachment in this zone because it doesn't technically add floor area. So there is no increase in floor area. And then you can see the front setback, the front elevation existing on the left, and you can see that these types of improvements will also allow for better circulation from the entryway into the house. And so with that, the project was reviewed by design review, and they received positive comments and will return, I think, next week. And with that, staff finds that the front setback modification can be approved because it is modest in size and will be an aesthetic improvement to the front of the house. It will improve internal circulation of the entry and the living room, and it can be found necessary to secure an appropriate improvement on the lot and prevent unreasonable hardship due to the house is already non-conforming to the 20-foot setback. So staff concludes the presentation and recommends that the staff hearing officer approve the project, making the findings in the staff report. And we have the architect, Tony Zekes, here, and the owner, Mr. Jim Park, is also here if they would like to make a presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Bradison. I'd like to invite the applicant and homeowner up if you wish to share anything else. Do you mind leaving that up, actually? Or pulling up the plan. Let me see, I might need to.
I think she needs to switch the screen again.
Plans. Let's see.
Right here.
Lovely.
There we go. So we'll have them sit here, yeah? Or should I scoot over?
If you could just introduce yourselves for the record, and if there's anything else that you wanted to share about this. This is a pretty straightforward project.
I have some help from the structural engineer that we're working with. And essentially, we're trying to emulate that same house with some modern touches. We omitted that arch doorway. That eyebrow roof over the doorway. And there is some contention about the pitch of that front element that encroaches into the front setback. And so we did some studies about changing the pitch and lowering that peak to change the pitch from a 12-12 to a 10-12, and it looks very awkward. It doesn't look like it belongs, and we discussed that at the previous meeting. So If you want to compare them side by side, you can do so on sheet 7. They appear side by side. I think it's a good comparison. So I think it's an appropriate request, and I think it'll give it a little more character to the neighborhood.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, did you wish to say anything else?
I just introduced myself. I'm the homeowner, Jim Park, and I don't really have a whole lot to add other than what Tony has already put forth. We tried to keep this design within the character of the neighborhood. And if you look, for example, from the street view to the left and around the neighborhood in general, you'll see a lot of homes like this built in the 30s with very high-pitched roofs. It's just part of the architectural design, and so we feel that it's within the character of the neighborhood.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Park. Okay, I'm going to open up public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? I did not receive any written correspondence, and I don't see anyone moving to speak. Ms. Good, do we have anybody who wishes to speak via Zoom?
On Zoom, I do not see any raised hands for this particular project.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm going to close public comment. I just want to say that I know the circumstances of even coming forward today were really unfortunate, and, want to make this as painless as possible. You have it was a charmer to begin with, and I just really appreciate, the design, how you are maintaining its character and trying to rebuild. And during COVID, I did a lot of neighborhood walks, and the West Side was often kind of my regular beat. So I'm very familiar with your home and the street, and so, yes, it just is really nice to see the intentionality and trying to kind of maintain that beautiful streetscape. And I'm not the aesthetic board, but this is such a minor request, and your home is already non-conforming, so this is a very easy approval and decision to make. So without further ado, again, I wish you well going on to the single-family design board and kind of wrapping up your project and being able to get your building permit. And again, apologies. I'm sorry. It's probably been a long time, a real stressful situation to manage. But again, it just looks like hopefully you were able to make some other design decisions that, make your floor plan work out better for you and have some wins in it from a modernization standpoint. So, maybe the silver lining. But yes, I can go ahead and grant the front setback modification, and can definitely say that this is an appropriate improvement to the lot. This structure is already non-conforming. This beautiful pitched roof really kind of carries through through the neighborhood, and to maintain that is really quite special, and certainly appreciate that. And we want to make sure that we're preventing an unreasonable hardship, given the non-conforming aspect to it. So I agree with all the findings that Ms. Brodesson made in her staff report, so I can submit that, and then also confirm that this project qualifies for an exemption from further environmental review under Section 15301. My action is appealable, but within 10 calendar days of this decision. But again, I just wish you well moving forward, and hopefully you can get this wrapped up soon.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see. Kathy, do you mind moving back to the other screen? All right. Moving on to, and actually, let me pull this up really quick. I haven't gotten my new rhythm to, unless. Let's see. And I'll let you wanted to do Google aerial view. Oh my gosh, good luck. I think part of this is because I'm signed in. I was trying to avoid this, so I'm sorry. You wanted to do Google Maps? Yeah. Okay, I think that should work. And then I think the plans are, yeah. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. We're moving on to item B, which is 3402 Madrona Drive. This is a 9,036 square foot site. It's currently developed with a single-story, single-family residence with an attached two-car garage. The project consists of additions to the existing residence, the conversion of the existing attached garage into a 417 square foot master bedroom, and the construction of a new 400 square foot detached two-car garage. The discretionary applications required at this hearing under the purview of the staff hearing officer are a front setback modification along Amapola Drive to allow the addition between the existing garage and residence to encroach in the front setback, and an open yard modification to allow the required open yard to be reduced from 1,250 square feet. So the project qualifies for an exemption from further environmental review under Section 15301 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. We have Ms. Fennessy here, Assistant Planner, who's going to present the project. Whenever you're ready, and actually, if you could pull, I still see, maybe it'll just update. I still see that. I don't know if we can
Maybe just close it.
get out of that. There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hi, Jillian Fennessy, Assistant Planner. I will be presenting the project at 3402 Madrona Drive today. The project is located in the San Roque neighborhood, and it is surrounded by residential uses. It is subject to the San Roque Park subdivision standards, which requires the front setback along Amapola to be 40 feet. It is a 9,300 square feet, 9,036 square foot lot, and it's currently developed with a single-story, single-family residence, an attached two-car garage. It is zoned RS 7.5. It is a corner lot, so it has two front setbacks, like I said, 40 feet along Amapola and 30 feet along Madrona. The residence is currently non-conforming to both required front setbacks. And I will pull up the site plan. Oh, here it is, okay. Okay, so as mentioned, the project consists of a single-story addition to the existing residence, and conversion of the existing garage to a 417 square foot master bedroom, and a construction of a new garage that's 400 square feet and detached. So just a closer look at that. So the new garage and the addition compared to what is existing. There are two modifications required for this project: a front setback modification along Amapola to allow the addition between the existing garage and residence to encroach into the front setback, and an open yard modification to allow the required open yard to be reduced from 1,250 square feet. Staff believes that the required findings for the approval can be made for both modifications. And a little bit more detail on the front setback modification. Like I said, it is to allow the proposed addition to encroach into the front setback, filling in the space between the existing garage and residence. This includes raising the height of the roof to match the primary residence. And staff supports this modification because it aligns with the existing home setback and does not further encroach into the front setback. This lot is constrained by being a corner lot with two larger front setbacks, and alternative designs were considered but not preferred. So as you can see on the existing site plan versus the proposed addition is in line with the existing residence and does not further encroach into the front setback. And the second modification request, the open yard modification, is due to the proposed garage location. To have this garage here. It requires the open yard to be reduced from 1250. The project includes 926 square feet of qualifying open yard, and it has an additional 307 square feet of functional open yard, but does not count towards the open yard calculation due to its location within 10 feet of the front setback. Staff supports this modification because it is a constrained lot, and it is necessary to provide an appropriate improvement on the lot, which is the garage. Again, alternative designs were considered but not preferred. And let me show some elevations to see what this looks like. For the front setback modification, I think it shows it well. So here is the proposed elevation where the front setback modification is, filling in this area here, and then the new garage here. And I think the applicant is here today, and if they have anything else to add, but I am here for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Fennessy.
Yeah.
I'd like to invite the applicant up. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Jarrett Gorin from Vanguard Planning. Thanks, Jillian. That sums up most of it. There is one thing that I want to make sure that we're getting covered here, which is, let me get to a site plan. Yeah, that's,
Sheet 5.
okay. I don't usually drive, so, okay, there we go.
It's always so awkward, I feel like.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I just want to make sure, like, it was in our application and our application letter discussing findings for mods and all, but the part of the front setback modification also includes enclosing this little front area, so it isn't just enclosing the breezeway. And yeah, this is just a really strange situation out there on this lot, actually on a lot of lots in this part of San Roque, because the city came along after all this was built and created these new sort of freakishly large front setbacks
Right.
based on the amazing setbacks they have up on like Cannon Drive and things like that. But then they applied it down here too on all these smaller lots. So our front setback is actually in our backyard. So it creates this issue for this house, and the changes that we're doing here are pretty consistent with the pattern of development all over the neighborhood. Actually, there's not a whole lot of houses that come to mind where there's a garage door directly facing the street out here. Most of them have detached garages, or I'd call it like a rear-loaded garage. So anyway, it's a small house, one of the smallest houses out there. It's a pretty modest addition. If you look at the house next door to us, that's more characteristic of the types of additions people do out there. So anyway, we appreciate the city's consideration of this, and we agree that, well, we agree this is the preferred design. The deal with the open space, we had originally come in and proposed putting this garage much closer to the interior property line, and we were seeking a mod for that. But it was determined that, well, the major reason was that this garage could at some point be turned to an ADU just under, that's not our intent, but somebody could do that. So it was determined that it was better to keep this garage consistent with the setback and do a slight reduction to the open space. And it's really the dimensions on the open space that are causing us to need the mod there. We have really a lot of open space on the lot, but I know that's one of the things you all are considering in your updates to single-family design board review, is maybe changing those open space standards.
That's
So anyway,
accurate. Okay, great.
yeah, that's our presentation.
All
Can answer
right.
any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gordon. And I'm going to open up public comment. If there's anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come up to our lovely podium. And if you could just introduce yourself, state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Ashley Flood. I'm the neighbor adjacent on Madrona Street, and first I just want to say, like, we're kind of excited about the project. And so, like, in general, we don't really have any issues. But there is a tree that's sort of like in between the fences. I think I realized that it's actually there. I thought we had a shared fence, but there are actually like two fences next to each other, and the tree like lives now in between them. And it's a fairly large tree that provides privacy, I think, for all four of the neighbors there. And you can see it in the upper left. Yeah, that one. So I guess my question, more of a question is, you know, hopefully, we're hoping that the tree remains, because without the tree, basically, we look right into the neighbors on, it wouldn't be you guys, but it would be your other neighbor on Los Pinos. And so that's just something I wanted to bring up. But otherwise, I think we're just like generally like excited for improvements in our neighborhood. So that's all I have
Thank
to
you
say.
so much.
Yep.
Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak? And then I'm going to ask Ms. Gu if you have, oh, you okay? Okay. Take your time. If anyone is joining us via Zoom who wishes to speak.
Upon checking Zoom, I do not see any raised hands for this particular item. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and close public comment then. And do you want to respond to that, or do you want to, it looks like.
Yeah, I'll respond to it.
Trying to think. I just want to make sure. Can you point it out on the screen?
I think
which
this is
one?
this
That's
is the tree.
So that's
Yeah,
going to be maintained, or that's not proposed to be removed, is what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, so we're not proposing to remove that tree. I'm not sure if the trunk's even on our property or not.
Right.
But the structure is very little of it encroaches in the drip line of that tree. I don't even know what kind of a tree it is. We were mostly focused on this tree right here.
Right. I know that's the one I thought. Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, all
No,
I would say is we've got a pretty short one-story structure in here, and we'll be careful of the tree. I don't think it's going to impact the root zone a whole lot, and yeah, we certainly wouldn't take out that tree.
Right.
It might be necessary to trim some of the limbs so that they don't conflict with the roof of the garage, but I wouldn't. We do everything we can to save existing large trees.
Right.
Every place we work.
Right. And just to clarify, it's not proposed to be removed. So I just want to state that for the record. And so speaking of trees, it sounds like there are different decision points and ideas, and there's no, and can you speak to the other oak tree? Were there any concerns that came up in the staff, in the back and forth between the applicant and staff about the oak tree and any protection? It looks like it too is outside of the drip line, but I just wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, so in the initial conversations with the planner who was previously assigned to this project, they let the applicant know to reach out to the city arborist, because that is a front setback tree, and kind of coordinate with them on the tree, because it might conflict with the root zones, but I don't know if the applicant has anything else to add to that.
Yeah, so we're using permeable pavement on our driveway and trying to limit the amount of excavation that's needed there. We also have our own arborist to advise us on tree protection measures and consult during the construction. It's really critical to us to keep that tree.
I know, it's such a beautiful tree. So, okay. Those are really my questions. Again, it's a really lovely project. I can just say that, from a development standpoint, there are lots of different ways that people can do additions, and you can put second-story additions, and this is just like a nice kind of elegant kind of continuation of the existing residence, and which we know is non-conforming due to this extreme 40-foot setback. So this lot is just, anything you do is going to essentially trigger a modification, as we know. And again, I think it was a smart design, and that kind of using that garage area to kind of create that kind kind of consistent look along Amapola Drive and, making it more kind of a cozier nook in the open yard area, and then certainly creating a new space for your covered parking requirement. So kind of having that more traditional rear parking and kind of taking that off the street. I think that makes it overall a nicer design, and again, maintaining a one-story element. So I'm very supportive of the front setback modification due to the hardship, and I completely agree with your presentation and Ms. Fennessy's report and the supportability. So I can make the findings as drafted in the staff report there. And then secondly, for the open yard modification, I do appreciate hearing your original intentions and, whether or not, this area could be converted to an ADU down the road, or, I think the fewer mods, the better, and I can see why staff led you in that direction. But again, I think you have a lovely project here and a really nice open yard space, the kind of the little quieter area, especially given the fact that this is a corner lot, which can be difficult, or sometimes that really pulls it out where you have to hang out in the front yard. And so I think it's just a nice design and makes sense, and I appreciate your efforts to kind of work around the existing oak tree, and then just being mindful of the rear tree in the back for your neighbors. But can go ahead and make the open yard modification findings as well, that it's consistent with the general purposes of the zoning district and necessary to secure an appropriate improvement on the lot. And also can confirm that the project qualifies for the exemption as written by Ms. Fennessy. So my decision is appealable within 10 calendar days of this action, and I wish you well moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think that's it for today's staff hearing officer meeting for June 11th. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting.